This episode is brought to you by Audacia Capital. Audacia Capital is a leading fixed income specialist on the Irish Stock Exchange. Audacia Capital is known for its bold and innovative approach in the corporate bond space. For more information, visit our website at audaciaplc.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. This is episode 21. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you will join us throughout the season. Today we look back at another busy week of Premier League football, and Glenn answers questions from the Evening Standard newspaper for his weekly column Ask Hoddle, which you can read every Monday. So Glenn, the football is relentless at the moment, about 3 games a week in the Premier League for the teams, but it's great news for the fans.
Yeah, it's great for the fans. It really is. There'll be a few people in different households who perhaps don't like football. There'll be a fight for what's going to be on television, but it is just coming at you left, right, and centre, game after game, and it's very hard to see them all. But if I don't see them all, I get a recording of it and flick through the best bits. But no, it's been 24/7, and if you're a football lover, it's great.
It is, and you've been to a few games. We'll talk about some of those. So you've been kept busy as well over the last few days. We'll talk about Liverpool and that goal in particular, the second goal from Salah, a bit later on. We'll talk about Chelsea because you were at Stamford Bridge on this Sunday. But let's talk about Aston Villa if we can, first of all, because they had a good start to the season. They're in 9th. They lost at Burnley, which was a bit of a surprise, but then they came and won their most recent game to put them right back in the hunt again to have one of their best seasons. So what has Dean Smith done? Because last year they were struggling, weren't they? They won 1-0 at Southampton on Saturday. What a turnaround. Last game of the season, they stayed up by a Jack Grealish goal, a point they needed. They got it at West Ham. This year, totally different team. What has Dean Smith done, do you think?
Well, I think he's recruited well. I think they're a club that actually have used the transfer market very well. They had some very good players anyway, but now they're playing without that. When you've played all season under pressure in a relegation battle, it's very difficult to play at your best. You're under immense pressure, and I think those players that went through that battle have come through it, and they've started the season decent, and then it's given them some freedom to play. Mm-hmm. And if you play with a bit, less fear, it's amazing what can happen to a footballer and a team. And I think that's what's happened with Villa. Then you add the good new players and the recruitment that he's done. Watkins has been absolutely outstanding for them. He's come right. He really has flourished since he's come to the club, and he does well to lead the line as he does. But I think it's then that confidence has come. Barkley's been out injured recently, but he did well, gave him a bit different, and he's come back in and scored against the Saints this weekend. So there's a lot of things there. They've had a settled back four as well. They've had a settled back four and a good goalkeeper now from Arsenal. So they've got a real solidness about them, but they've got some really good offensive players, and Jack Grealish is getting stronger and stronger and better week in and week out. So they're full of confidence, and Dean Smith and his staff have got to take a lot of credit.
Grealish tends to get the headlines, but players like John McGinn, Douglas Luiz in midfield, they've both been really good. You always think of they're much better side when McGinn's in there. He's a real hard worker. He's a grafter, isn't he?
Well, he is. What he is, he's what I call a balancing off player. He balances the team off, and he puts in the hard graft, uses the ball well, sensibly. Not going to score too many goals, but he might come up with a few here and there, stops a lot at the other end. So, him and Louise in there, they knuckle down, they do their job, they keep the ball, and they give it to the players that are going to make the difference. And I think they recognise that. And that they've got a nice balance about their team at the moment, Villa. And yes, it's they're playing with a lot of confidence, and I think that's really, really a lot of credit to the manager and to the to the players that went through that last year. They've gelled together really well, and I think Villa are a massive club, and they deserve to be in the Premier League, and it's good to see them getting some just rewards.
Well, they were a big team in the 80s, weren't they? They got to the European final. Their 81 Charity Shield, I think it was against Tottenham. What you played against them?
Yeah, we played again. They won the league, and we won the FA Cup, and they were a terrific side. They won the European Cup, which is obviously the Champions League. They had a very, very good side. Again, a very good balance, very similar to what they got today. Obviously they went on and won the Championship, so they had a little bit more about them. But it was a well-balanced team. It was some creativity, but a lot of hard graft players that could put the yardage in, and then you had a nice balance to that team with Morley and Shaw and Weird and all that sort of Mortimer, but you had the other players to go with them who were prepared to really roll their sleeves up, win the ball, and give it to the players that could play. And they had a real, as I say, similar to today's team in many ways. They had a balance about them.
Didn't Nigel Spink, was in goal, didn't he sort of play one of his first games in the European Cup final, I remember? The keeper was injured and he came in as a really young keeper and went and won it, didn't he?
He did. He had an outstanding game. His temperament was fantastic. It really was. I guess he probably, as a youngster, sometimes he didn't have the time to get scared or have fear. And obviously, as a youngster, sometimes it doesn't affect you. You don't know any different. So no, but it was really a majestic win. It was out of the blue.
Let's hope they can get back to some kind of level where they were at 20 odd years ago, 30 years ago. It's a tough ask in these days of money and signings, but signing the right players, as you say, certainly helps. Now, you were at Stamford Bridge on Sunday to see Chelsea up against Burnley. You were there midweek as well for the 0-0 draw against Wolves. What have you made, and it's really early days, of Thomas Tuchel so far? Obviously, the Wolves game, he had one training session, so you can forget that, really, wasn't it? Just picking up numbers out of the hat who was going to play. But today, they seem to play a lot better, a lot more direct, and a lot more energy in the side.
No, they did. They had more energy. I think Mount and Werner coming in gave them the same system. They played the same shape, but those two made runs off the ball as well as getting them to feet. Ziyech and Havertz against Wolves really didn't push themselves without the ball. They were wanted the ball to feet every single time they received it. Whereas the two today that played up there with Abraham, they would go in behind. They would make runs in behind and create a lot of space there for Jorginho and Kovacic. So again, the shape of their side was really balanced, and twice now they've played with three at the back, wing backs. Hudson-Odoi has he's been the most consistent over the two games. I think he's played well in both games, and today certainly was a great outlet. He held the width. He played more like a winger than a wing back. But I got to say, Burnley were off today. They've been playing really well, got great results. They weren't at the races, and Wolves have not been at the races either. Don't forget. So they came for a point. So there'll be bigger tests for Chelsea, I've got to say, along the line, no doubt about. But no, for two games, he'll be delighted. Tuchel will be absolutely delighted with what he's seen. But it was difficult for him because he's almost picked the team today, changing players that he didn't really need to change. But it's like pre-season. It was like a pre-season game when you're going to say, well, I'm going to pick these players and I'm going to pick these players for that game because I need to see them. I need to see their temperament. But, of course, Chris, that they were 10th in the league. They need 3 points every game they play because they're in that position. The pressure's on point-wise and for them to grow. So it was a delicate one, but, they've got such a strong squad, particularly offensively, that I think it wasn't too much of a risk, put it that way. And I think the fixtures probably just about suited them to do that, with Wolves and Burnley today. Obviously, they go over to Tottenham in the midweek, and that one will be, as we all know, the Tottenham and Chelsea rivalry is a little bit different. But I think the shape suits them, the shape that they played for the two games. They looked exciting today and probably didn't create as many one-on-one chances, but Burnley, one thing Burnley do, they get 2 banks of 4 and they defend well.
Just a quick word on Sheffield United, because I've already written them off, as you know, and you were much more nice about them than me. We spoke about it last week. Manchester United away, no chance. Manchester City away, no chance. In the end, they come out with 3 points and a 1-0 defeat at City. What a total different change of attitude they showed at Old Trafford, in particular, to get 3 points. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the performance and result of the year so far. I mean, we've had, don't get me wrong, we've had some wonderful performances and results, but sometimes you think, well, City and Liverpool and this and that, you think, well, they're capable of doing that. You know, to go to Manchester United, who have been top of the league that time, and get the win was an incredible result and performance. When you're down the bottom there, the pressure's on, particularly when you're set, you're cut adrift a little bit. And they gave themselves a little bit of a glimmer of hope. And I've got to say, losing 1-0 to City is no disgrace. Okay, they needed points on the board, but they nearly actually pinched a draw at the end of the game. So they could have gone there and pinched it. They didn't get hammered. Normally, a lot of teams have gone to City, they go 1-0 down and they get trunched. They absolutely smashed, 3-4, 5-0. We've seen that pattern. But to be fair to Sheffield, they got a little bit of belief about them. And they've got to keep, plugging away, as do Fulham and West Brom. You just got to keep plugging away, and the win at United and the performance against City just shows you what a tough league this league is. The Premier League is the toughest in the world, and that's proving that, without any shadow of a doubt.
This episode is brought to you by the Lily White Foundation. We believe sport is fundamental to the development of young people, but sadly, many young people in difficult financial or social circumstances don't get the opportunities most of us take for granted. The Lily White Foundation supports projects that help children and young people take part in sports and activities. For more information, go to lilywhitefoundation.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
The league is crazy at the top. When we saw Everton losing at home to Newcastle, and on Sunday we saw Leicester losing at home to Leeds. I mean, if anyone had a betting ACCA, it's gone straight away. I mean, those two have just absolutely ruined the ACCAs, because how can Leeds go win at Leicester after Leicester have been so good?
Yeah, I think you've got to praise Leeds massively. I mean, it's the strange. To be a Leeds fan must be exciting in many, many ways, but also, exasperating at the same time, because you just don't know. And I'm not sure they know yet. You don't know what sort of performance you get. They can actually go and beat anyone, 3-0, and attack them. And at the same thing, and in the same sort of style of play, and play similar the following week, and attack a team, and they don't take their chances, or it doesn't work out. The open spaces that they give you, because they're so attacking, they can get trounced 3 or 4 themselves. So it's just Jekyll and Hyde football. It's incredible for neutrals to watch, and I've got to say, Leicester have been consistent this season. I've been impressed with Brendan Rodgers and the team. I think they've had loads of different injuries to deal with, but they've coped and playing some really good football and got match winners, and again, good defenders. But Leeds, you just don't know. If you catch Leeds on the right day for Leeds, you're going to get beat. And they can beat anyone. They're capable of beating anyone in this league, but they'll get caught. Someone like, West Brom will beat them, or Fulham will go and beat them, or Newcastle. They'll get beaten as well. So it is Jekyll and Hyde football, but it's so entertaining for the Premier League. Incredible.
Time for a cliche here. Patrick Bramford, not a great goal scorer, but a scorer of great goals. He does put them away, doesn't he?
He has done. I mean, that's about confidence, isn't it? At the end of the say he started the season really well and had a little barren spell, but now he's done surprisingly, I think for a lot of people, he's done brilliant, and I'm really pleased for the lad. It didn't work out at Chelsea, and by all accounts, I was coming back from the Chelsea game in the first half. Schmeichel was making, by all accounts, world class saves left, right, and centre. So what that result could have been is quite staggering. And credit to Leeds and Bielsa, the way that they play. I love watching them play. But it is Jekyll and Hyde. You're going to get 3-1, 3-1 wins, and you're going to get 3-1 losses, I'm afraid.
For our listeners who are 18 and over, we have teamed up with Bohemian Brands Football Vodka, where you can buy premium alcohol in your favourite footy team's colours. Click on the link directly from our podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and you'll be able to get a direct link to the Bohemian Brands website where you can choose the team of your choice. The bottles are a brilliant present for any footy mad friend or family member, so either click on our link or visit midnightuk.co.uk and go to the Glen Hoddle Footy Show page where you'll find more information on Bohemian Brands. Remember, 18 and over only, and please drink responsibly. Thanks. Those Newcastle fans are always suffering for some reason because they're a great club and they deserve to be in the top four, and they haven't been there for many years. Noel, who's in Dublin, is a regular listener. He asked, Steve Bruce, what are your thoughts on him? The situation is the criticism is getting unfair, and how can he fix it? Well, he fixed it at Everton for a start, didn't he, with a 2-0 win there?
Yeah, I think the criticism I understand, because I think there's games where they sort of, it hasn't been working. The back five, that when he plays the back five, it drops too deep, and Wilson particularly, or whoever's playing up front, but it's been Wilson, obviously he's kept himself fit, who's been fantastic, by the way, and probably deserves, the way he's playing, deserves to play in one of the top 6 teams in the Premier League. Proving what he did at the weekend, but he was so isolated. It was ridiculous. He had no support from any midfield players, and that's when the back five was dropping too deep. The midfield were on the toes of the back five, and I felt sorry for him. And you could just see Newcastle fans would have been, if they were in the stadium, they would have probably dragged them out of that position a little bit. But I think they just lost their way a little bit, Newcastle there. But my word, as soon as Steve went back to a back four this week, and they played a lot higher up the pitch, meaning that the midfield played a little bit higher up the pitch, consequently got closer to Wilson, got closer to the front players, and they got bodies forward. They got bodies forward with a bit of belief in themselves, and my word, the 2 finishes, he could have had 3 or 4 goals, couldn't he? But the 2 that he did get, he took superbly well. And as I say, he's not getting on the ratio, he's not getting chance after chance after chance after chance, because that's the way it's been. But my word, he can, his conversion of chances to goals is incredible, and I can see him getting better and better. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He really is. He
probably plays better in a good team, doesn't he? He would feed off a better attackers and people linking with him. He'd play better there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a few clubs where you think, if he was playing up front for them or them, he'd be scoring. It'd be his ratio. He doesn't need 5 chances to score 1. He's that sort of striker.
Now, for all you Chelsea fans, next week in episode 22, we're going to give away a book. It's called Blue Days: The Transformation of Chelsea under Hoddle, Hullet and Vialli. It's written by author Chris Wright. The book is out now. You can get it as a paperback for $8.95. Also, there's a Kindle edition for $2.95. And it's all there. The Blue Days: The Transformation of Chelsea under Hoddle, Hullet and Vialli by Chris Wright. And we'll be giving away a copy next week on the Glen Hoddle Footy Show, episode 22. Make sure you join us for that. Let's have a look towards the top of the table. West Ham 1, Liverpool 3 after a Spurs 1, Liverpool 3 in midweek. A great week for Liverpool, and what a second goal that was. From a West Ham corner, Liverpool scored 2 passes, one over to Shaqiri, one into the box, Salah second touch goal. I mean, you can't defend that, can you?
It was the only way you're going to defend that was on the edge of the box. West Ham got caught a little bit sparse, on the edge of the box where that ball come out. But the diagonal pass from Alexander-Arnold was wonderful. That was great. And then you've got Shaqiri looking up and Salah going. So it's one diagonal right to left. Then there's a diagonal first time pass on the run, full speed, from left to right. And then to finish it off with the touch and the finish was just exquisite. It was Liverpool back to their very, very best. The finish, to bring it down with his right foot like that and then just poke it and flick it with his outside of his left was outstanding. It really was. And you know what? Everyone's forgetting the other goal he scored, Salah, because that was brilliant. And then there was the third, which was a team goal, which I don't know how many. Nobody said on the coverage that I'd seen how many passes they'd put together. It must have been up there around about 30 passes, and they've ended up putting that in the back of the net with Wijnaldum just having a tap in from 6 yards. Liverpool are back. They were very, very good against Tottenham, deserved the win, and they look confident again. Thiago, for me, I don't know, I've heard Liverpool fans saying he slows it down, he does this, he is a top player, and he's taking them into another level from where they were this season, to be honest, from the problems they've had, and he's getting better and better. They're back. Liverpool are back, and they've shown some consistency. It's only been Man City that's showed any consistency for any length of time in this Premier League this year. But you've got to see now Liverpool. We all thought Liverpool when they beat Palace 7-0 that they're back, and then suddenly they went right off it. Now they've earned the right to say, well, we now got City. What a time to get in good form when they're coming up against City next weekend. That's going to be an absolute peach of a game.
The thing is with football fans and fans of any sport in particular is that everyone has an opinion, but not every opinion is right. And I think fans have to realise that. Just because you think it's right doesn't mean that it is. So therefore, you're writing players off, you're writing managers off. And in this league, 2 games, you've got 6 points, a couple of goals, maybe a hat-trick. And then, they go away and shut up for half a year. And when it goes bad again, they come back. I remember sitting at Stamford Bridge in the Matthew Harding end, somebody was giving Drogba absolute grief, a Chelsea fan, giving Drogba grief. You're rubbish, you're this, you're that, you can't shoot. He scores a goal. Lo and behold, this Chelsea fan jumps up shouting, Didier, I love you. You are the best. No, I'm just thinking, that's how quickly it can turn. And it turns ridiculously quickly these days.
Well, it is. And particularly this year as well, with no crowd, actually. And the results, there's more away wins since the pandemic than home wins. It's got to be down to the crowd. It's got to be down to the pressure of the home crowd, getting on top of the away crowd, helping the home side. There's no doubt about it. And there's a lot of players giving ball, passes away. They give possession away. A couple of times I watched the Arsenal game, Man United, both teams were giving the ball away. Quality players just loosely giving the ball away. And I don't care what you say, but it's human nature. If you've got 60,000 sort of yelling at you, booing you a little bit because you've passed 2 bad balls, as a professional and a human being, you react to that. Now you react in a positive way to put it right, or you go the other way and you go into your shell. And these are the scenarios that are not happening. That's why it's a little bit of a false year this year, not because of the Premier League or whatever, the goals we're scoring and the defense. It's not that. It's more on the mental. It's more on the mental side of the game without the crowd there. When a crowd like Sheffield United, they get behind them at home, they're incredible. Well, we just haven't seen it, have we? With Sheffield United.
When you were playing, would you actually hear an isolated shout at you saying, Hoddle, you're the best, or Hoddle, you're not the best? Would you actually hear that, or is it just a cacophony of noise that you hear?
Mostly it was a cacophony of noise, to be quite honest, but I was a corner taker. So when you went out to take a corner, away from home, you used to get abused. Let's put it that way. You used to get some quite, at times it was quite humorous, but other times it was venomous. And all they're doing is trying to put you off. They're just trying to, and you have to look at it that way. And then at home, obviously, you get that nicer feeling. And but even at home, you get, your crowd gets frustrated sometimes if players are not playing well. They get frustrated, and a good old friend of mine, John Pratt, used to get almighty stick from the Spurs fans, and it was just. But he was such a strong character. He taught me a lot, actually. John, he coached me when I was a kid at Tottenham when he was doing his badges, but he taught me the character of the game. It didn't matter. It was like water off a duck's back with John. If he give it away, and I'm talking about quite a big, substantial part of the ground, not just individuals. Yeah, but it didn't worry John. He just went searching for the next ball, and he'd attempt the next pass and do what he had to do for the team. And I admired that. It was something to learn off.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email Glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Let's have some questions from the Evening Standard readers. Emily, what are your early impressions of Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea?
Well, listen, it's very, very early doors, but at the moment, I like the way he's gone in there and not changed the shape, because under Frank they played three at the back, but he has changed it a little bit. He's done it slightly different, and he knows what he wants. And I can see already he's got information across to the players. You're not going to win every game, but straight away I can see a reaction from the players. And look at Alonso today. He's out in the wilderness. He comes in. Everyone now, you can tell at Chelsea, are on their toes, because the ones that have been playing under Frank week in and week out, now they've got to prove to the manager that they're worth their salt in the team. The ones that have been out of the team under Frank to a certain degree and not played as much and a bit frustrated with their form, they're now got a clean, sheet of paper, and they're going to say, right, I can now start hitting the manager between the eyes and saying, yes, I'm worth a place in the team. My question will be, I'm interested to see whether Thomas Tuchel is he going to pick a squad? Is he going to pick a team that's got a spine, that has got 6 players that play every week, and then they build around that? Or is he going to do what a lot of managers do, is rotate? I think Frank, probably looking back at his tenure, probably rotated a little bit too much for me, slightly. I think because he had so many good players there. So I think I'm really interested to see whatever shape they play. It doesn't matter. Have they got a spine? Will it be, Thiago, will he play? Obviously, he's got to be rested, maybe because of his age. But is there going to be a spine where you go, yeah, look, they play every week, those 6, and that's intriguing me. And let's see what happens. I think he's a good manager.
Alex wants to know: does David Moyes deserve more credit for the job he's doing at West Ham? Doing a great job there, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's got the balance right. I mean, last year I was a bit frustrated sometimes when I saw West Ham. I kept thinking to myself, David, there's more there. There's more creativity. There's a bit more. That team can go a little bit further. It can become a little bit more expansive. It had the chains on at times. But to be fair to David, this year it's exactly what he's done with the team. And he's Benrahma has got ability and plays with his head up. Yarmolenko is used from the bench a lot more. So suddenly there's Bowen has got this confidence now. He's given him a good run in the team, and he's got a reign where he can go and play and come off the wide berth and get through the middle. Yes, I think they're doing a really good job. Yes, they're very, very solid with a back 5. 3 at the back in possession, but a back 5 defending, and they're very well drilled. They're well drilled in the system. And all right, today Liverpool were too good for them. They were too good for Tottenham as well in the week, and they look like they got their mojo back. So, but West Ham, no, they're going to pick up some some great results. And yes, they were sitting 4th, weren't they, in the midweek there? Yeah. So they've got to maintain that consistency. But I think they're building something there.
Okay, and Chris says, can Arsenal sneak into the top 4? I can't believe I'm asking this after the start that they had. Even my wife was looking at the table, asking which league that was. Premier League, they were down 15th, weren't they, for a while? They're right up there now.
Yeah, they've improved a lot. And this is the year. This is the year that we're seeing, aren't we? With the inconsistency of teams up and down. You know, again, with Arsenal, like many teams, I think Tottenham, Man United, they're all in the same boat. Chelsea, you're not quite sure going into any game, really, how your team are going to play. Even Man United, when they were top, there's only Man City and probably now Liverpool might start doing that. But I would say City have proved already they're the only team where Man City fans can say, yeah, we're gonna be 8 or 9 out of 10 here, and if we're good enough, we're gonna win. And they've kept so many clean sheets as well. City, Arsenal, you still don't know what you're going to get. They've got some wonderful youngsters coming through. Top 4, no, I don't think they can make the top 4.
Finally, talking about Tottenham and Serge Aurier. Now, apparently, he was substituted. Was it at half time? He left the ground. He actually left the stadium and went home, or wherever he went. I suppose he'd have to go home, lockdown. I mean, what does that do for team spirit or at all? I mean, do the team sort of notice that, take note of that, or is it just between him and the manager?
Problem is, it's a headache for the manager. It's just a headache that managers shouldn't, they don't want to be dealing with all that. You've got to be all together. If you're not together, a house divided is always going to fall. There's no doubt about it. That's why politics will never work in anywhere in the world, because the house will never be, you've always got two parties fighting each other. Aurier is totally out of order. It's as simple as that. Nobody wants that in your dressing room, in your team. You sit down if there's, obviously you want a bit of passion, and if there's emotion, I don't know the ins and outs of whatever went on, but you want that. That's not a problem. Even if you have a punch up or verbally or physically in a dressing room, that can actually be good, because once you sit them down and you heal that, and you end up getting a little bit closer together in a strange way if everyone takes it in the right manner, because you're a team, you're a club and a team, and you can only do something in football as a team. Even Maradona, Pelé, all the greatest players in the world can't. We say Maradona won a World Cup on his own, yes, because he was that influential, but you can't. We know that. It's a team game. If you're a golfer, it's different, or a tennis player, it's different. But the team is everything. The ethos of the team, and he's broke. In a way, there isn't a law, there isn't a rule that Mourinho or any other manager, but he's broken that. He's broken that law. You don't get in a car and drive off when your teammates are still fighting for their lives to get points against Liverpool. That says a lot about a player. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, if that's an attitude that a player's got, and I'm not just saying Aurier, it's happened in other clubs, I'm sure. You're carrying them. They're not strong enough characters, and in the end, they'll let you down. And I think that's how the manager will look at it.
Okay, Glenn, thanks very much. That's episode 21. Don't forget, next week in episode 22, you can win a copy of Blue Days, The Transformation of Chelsea under Hoddle, Hullet and Vialli by Chris Wright. Make sure you stay safe and join us then.
That's all for today. See you next week.